Tarako just wanted to get back to school early, but little did she know she would come across a body hanging from a utility pole. As Tarako was at a loss for what to do, the body surprisingly began to drip snot, which miraculously flew onto Tarako's head. The next second, the body opened its eyes. The reason it was hanging there was, of course, because of the antlers on its head. Suddenly, Shikanoko stared at Tarako with a death glare, frightening Tarako immensely. But upon further thought, if she took a detour to school at this time, she would definitely be late, which was absolutely unacceptable for an honor student. So, she decided to act as if she hadn't seen anything and prepared to leave. At that moment, a terrifying voice came from behind. "Are you going to just stand by and watch someone die?" Frightened, Tarako hurriedly explained that she hadn't ignored a person in need. She thought the other was just playing around on the utility pole. Just as Tarako was about to leave, Shikanoko quickly said, "Every morning you pass this road, you will remember my face and live in regret for the rest of your life." At this, Tarako, finally deciding out of fear to save her, managed to rescue Shikanoko after some effort. Curious, Tarako asked why she was in such a place. Shikanoko didn't know either, and even called Tarako "bad girl, big sister." Hearing the word bad, Tarako instantly got upset and loudly questioned her. "Who are you calling a delinquent?" Tarako claimed she was gentle and virtuous and could not possibly be a delinquent. Shikanoko stated it was her antlers that detected it, shocking Tarako. Tarako suddenly realized that staying any longer with this person would be very dangerous, as she had indeed been a real troublemaker in the past. The exposed Tarako quickly looked for a chance to leave. After returning to school, Tarako felt uneasy, sensing that something big was about to happen. Sure enough, in the next second, Shikanoko walked in as a transfer student but got stuck because of her long antlers. She then forcibly broke through the wall to enter, acting as if nothing had happened, and cheerfully introduced herself to everyone, who warmly applauded her. Tarako suddenly noticed an empty seat next to her. Was she going to sit next to her? This could spell doom for her image as a well-behaved, top-performing student. Her happy high school life was in jeopardy. So Tarako decided to take the initiative and awkwardly greeted Shikanoko, telling her to ask her anything if confused. Shikanoko politely thanked her. Tarako thought this would lead to a peaceful high school life, but that was wishful thinking. Shikanoko called her "bad girl, big sister," making Tarako feel like the sky was falling. The classmates were incredulous. So, Tarako is a delinquent? Tarako, sweating profusely, begged Shikanoko to stop talking nonsense. Shikanoko insisted she wasn't lying, and even knew Tarako was a virgin because her antlers reacted. This statement drew intense attention from classmates and teachers. At this point, Tarako really wished Shikanoko would stop talking, and she shyly bowed her head in embarrassment over the topic. During the break, Tarako wanted to have a serious talk with Shikanoko, but as soon as she pushed open the classroom door, she found a pile of little deer cookies on her desk. It turned out that this was Shikanoko's way of thanking Tarako for saving her life. However, seeing the drool from Shikanoko, Tarako couldn't help but complain, as it seemed like they were made for Shikanoko herself. Seeing that Tarako was not pleased with the gift, Shikanoko directly pulled off one of her antlers and gave it to Tarako. Tarako looked disgusted, and the next second, Shikanoko explained that the antlers were edible. Tarako showed no interest. Thinking it was because the antler was drooled on, Shikanoko pulled off the one she hadn't chewed and offered it to her. Seeing that Tarako still didn't want it, Shikanoko reluctantly put the antler back on. But then, Shikanoko thought Tarako wanted to eat deer meat. However, in order to repay her kindness, Shikanoko eventually agreed and knelt in front of Tarako, offering herself for Tarako to eat. Tarako was speechless, feeling as if she were bullying Shikanoko. Noticing the strange looks from other students, Tarako quickly dragged Shikanoko to the restroom, warning her not to call her "bad girl, big sister" again, and not to mention that she used to be a delinquent, or else she would mock Shikanoko's antlers. The next second, Shikanoko became sad, realizing that they couldn't avoid such idle gossip. She forced a smile and apologized. Hearing this, Tarako also felt she had been too harsh. Just as Tarako was about to apologize to Shikanoko, Shikanoko suddenly removed her skull. After school, after being tormented all day, Tarako was just about to go home when she heard a loud noise from the storeroom. Rushing over, she found Shikanoko bloodied on the ground. Tarako was at a loss. The next second, Shikanoko got up, having only fallen from a ladder. Tarako's face stiffened. After helping Shikanoko bandage her wounds, Tarako also helped clean up. It turned out Shikanoko had founded a club called Deer Club and planned to use this place as the club's base, which the teacher had also agreed to. To Tarako's surprise, the teacher appointed her as the president of the Deer Club, all thanks to Shikanoko's meddling. Unable to refuse the teacher, Tarako unwittingly became the president of this strange club. At that moment, Shikanoko handed a brush to Tarako, because the purpose of the Deer Club was to take care of deer. As Tarako was brushing Shikanoko, a strange woman in the distance was watching the two of them. The latest episode of Shikanoko is extremely abstract. Tarako, in an attempt to hide her past as a delinquent, reluctantly becomes the president of the Deer Club. Just when Tarako thinks she can keep her secret safe by keeping Shikanoko happy, she catches the attention of a girl with a crazed look in her eyes. The next day, Tarako arrives at the Deer Club, only to find it burned down. Frustrated at seeing her carefully arranged club destroyed, Tarako loses her temper. At that moment, Shikanoko, hiding in a corner, calls out to Tarako, leading her to believe that Shikanoko is responsible for everything. However, Shikanoko claims that the room was already like this when she arrived and that she had been stalked since early morning, fell into a 5-meter deep pit on her way to school, and was even hit in the head by a spear falling from the sky. Tarako is incredulous. Who survives a spear through the head? So she doesn't believe Shikanoko's words. As Tarako is about to leave, an arrow suddenly flies past her, aiming at Shikanoko behind her. Shikanoko dramatically declares that the battle has begun, convincing Tarako of her story. It seems Shikanoko really is being targeted. Thus, Tarako decisively decides to leave Shikanoko behind and escape this troublesome place. Of course, Shikanoko won't let her go that easily. Just then, Tarako accidentally steps on a trap and is hit on the head by a frying pan, awakening her delinquent spirit to find and punish the culprit. At that moment, a bunch of deer cookies rolls to the door. Although Tarako immediately recognizes it as a trap, she doesn't warn Shikanoko in time, who rushes towards them. Despite being pulled back and explained by Tarako that it's a trap, Shikanoko declares she would brave any danger for the deer cookies, her favorite snack. Unable to hold her back this time, Shikanoko is soon caught by a net trap. A girl then emerges, revealing herself to be the mastermind behind everything. When Shikanoko demands a fair fight, Tarako calls out the girl's name, and the girl immediately changes her demeanor, rushing to embrace Tarako. It turns out the girl is Tarako's sister, Anko, who felt that Shikanoko had stolen her sister away. Anko had been secretly following Tarako and became upset upon seeing her sister seemingly intimate with a deer, leading to her drastic actions. Hearing this, Tarako feels helpless and lets Shikanoko explain to her sister. Shikanoko boldly claims that Tarako is her woman and that she will protect her, leaving Tarako speechless and Anko even more infuriated. Tarako is at her wit's end, realizing this misunderstanding is far from being cleared up. So Anko accepted Shikanoko's challenge and let her down, planning a duel over their sister. If Shikanoko were to lose, she would become a deer and live forever in Nara Park. Conversely, if Anko lost, she would concede her sister to Shikanoko along with a lifetime supply of deer cookies. Upon hearing this, Shikanoko decisively agreed. Tarako was speechless. If Shikanoko really turned into a deer in Nara Park, what would happen to their deer club? But Shikanoko firmly urged her to have faith. The duel was simple. They would compete by answering trivia about Tarako's secrets. Correct answers earned points, with the highest scorer winning. Given the absurdity of the contest, Tarako couldn't even bother to comment. The competition started quickly, but before the teacher could finish the question, Anko pressed the buzzer. What is the last thing Tarako does before going to sleep each night? The answer: she talks to the stuffed animals in her room and wishes them good night. Tarako furiously clarified it was a rumor, but the teacher presented a photo of her cuddling a stuffed toy saying good night. Shikanoko buzzed in for the next question. Is Tarako currently wearing underwear? The answer was that she wore a cupped camisole, which technically meant she wasn't wearing any. The answer was correct, and then a video was shown as evidence. Tarako screamed in protest. Thus, they exchanged points, continually exposing Tarako's embarrassing secrets. The day quickly passed. and by dusk, the scores were still tied, leading to a world where only Tarako got hurt, and Anko broke down. She couldn't believe anyone knew her sister better than she did, and accused Shikanoko of cheating, suspecting Shikanoko had used a nationwide deer information network to gather data on her sister. Anko then pressed a switch, activating a trap she had set up earlier, and numerous spears were shot at Shikanoko, who dodged them all. This deer was no ordinary creature. Tarako decided to leave amid the chaos, but at that moment, Anko slipped and accidentally threw a spear at Tarako. Shikanoko took the hit to protect her and then fell down, overcome by drowsiness. Seeing this, Tarako was terrified and urged Shikanoko to open her eyes. No matter how she called, Shikanoko could no longer hear her. Accompanied by Tarako's desperate screams, 2 deer angels appeared and took Shikanoko's soul away. In an unexpected twist, God kicked Shikanoko's soul back the next second because the spear had not pierced her heart. This was thanks to the deer cookies Shikanoko had secretly picked up and kept over her heart when Anko released her. Tarako was speechless. She had seen coins block bullets, but never cookies block spears. The recent events changed Anko's perspective about Shikanoko, prompting her to concede and withdraw from the contest. Shikanoko graciously forgave Anko. Although the two reconciled, Tarako, as the protagonist, felt completely out of the loop from start to finish and secretly decided to wear a bra the next day. Consequently, Shikanoko immediately noticed the color of her underwear the following day. How abstract is the latest episode of Shikanoko? That day, when Tarako arrived at the Deer Society, she found a deer sneaking some of their deer cookies. Initially, Tarako thought the deer was brought by Shikanoko, but after searching around, she couldn't find any trace of Shikanoko. Seeing this, Tarako began to suspect and eventually concluded it was Shikanoko. Annoyed by this thought, Tarako demanded Shikanoko reveal her true form. However, the deer showed no reaction, leading Tarako to think that Shikanoko was deliberately teasing her. Thus, Tarako decided to expose her disguise directly, claiming she would skin the deer. The next second, she was kicked away by the deer. However, Tarako was not deterred. She bought 2 cups of bubble tea, intending to lure Shikanoko into revealing herself with food. But the deer showed no interest in the milk tea and started eating the grass in the flower pot instead. Seeing this, Tarako was upset as she had carefully nurtured those plants and couldn't just let them be eaten. Tarako's actions angered the deer again, which made a strange noise. When stags are intimidating or intending to attack, they make a clucking sound, so it was definitely not safe to approach them at this moment. Seeing this, Tarako pulled out her trump card, placing several mineral water bottles in front of the deer. Shikanoko had previously mentioned being startled by roadside mineral water bottles. Yet, facing Tarako's water bottle shadow kill array, the deer showed no fear, leaving Tarako bewildered. When had it overcome this weakness? So, Tarako decided to pull out all the stops to pique Shikanoko's interest fundamentally. She took out a booklet detailing all her embarrassing history, suggesting that if Shikanoko reverted to her true form, she would let her look at the booklet. This trick worked somewhat as the deer showed a bit of interest, but did not revert to its original form. Seeing this, Tarako decided to go even further to force Shikanoko to appear. She then started singing her original song and performed an awkward dance. However, the more embarrassing part was that after Tarako finished singing, she found Shikanoko standing right behind her. Stunned, Tarako wondered why there were 2 Shikanokos. It turned out the deer was not Shikanoko in disguise, but a real deer that had escaped from Shikanoko's workplace. While Tarako was shocked, Shikanoko picked up the booklet from the ground and asked Tarako to sing again. Hearing this, Tarako felt like dying, bewildered by what she had just done. After sending the deer away and some time had passed, Tarako and Shikanoko advanced to the 3rd grade. As the student council president, Tarako delivered a speech at the freshmen's entrance ceremony. However, when they returned to the Deer Society after the ceremony, they found a girl lying at the entrance, drooling all over the ground. Seeing the girl on the ground, Tarako initially thought she was dead. Just as she was about to call an ambulance, the girl suddenly woke up. It turned out her name was Mimi, a new first-year student. She had come looking for her idol, but had ended up falling asleep on the ground while waiting. Hearing this, Tarako thought Meme was referring to her as the idol, especially since she had just given a speech at the ceremony. She assumed Meme must have been captivated by her impressive appearance. However, Mime expressed her desire to become like Shikanoko, which Tarako found unbelievable. Moreover, Mime didn't even recognize Tarako, which was quite embarrassing. Before the entrance ceremony, Mime had fainted from hunger on the street. Just when she thought her life was over, Shikanoko had saved her life with a deer cookie. But that wasn't the most important part. The moment she asked Shikanoko for her name, Shikanoko had said, "It's a trivial matter, not worth mentioning." This statement deeply touched Mime's heart, and she came to seek Shikanoko as a mentor. Hearing this, Shikanoko was delighted and soon agreed to Mime's request. Mime promised to do her best to fulfill the role of a deer, and Shikanoko invited her to join the Deer Society, introducing the rules and Tarako's position as president. Tarako couldn't be bothered to comment and simply agreed to let her join. Meanwhile, Tarako's overly attached younger sister Anko also planned to join the Deer Society so she could be with her sister 24/7. However, when she arrived at the society, she saw the scene and felt like she had yet another competitor. Thus, Anko joined the Deer Society, which now grew into a 4-member club. Anko's self-assigned role was to take care of her sister, while Tarako, as the president, was effectively the deer caretaker. However, Tarako felt that being idle all the time was not sustainable, and the society would eventually be disbanded if they continued this way. Thus, she called a meeting to set a goal for everyone to achieve this year. As a senior member, Rokujizo was the first to propose a goal: to bathe in a bathtub filled with deer cookies, which Tarako immediately dismissed. Shikanoko had no other goals besides this, so Tarako reluctantly turned to Mime. Besides wanting to become a deer, Mime also wanted to grow a rice paddy in the society so she could be a self-sufficient, well-fed deer. Tarako was truly at a loss. Thus, she placed her hopes on her sister Anko, who had joined the Deer Society solely for Tarako. Anko's goal was to stand by her sister and support her silently. But Tarako had barely been touched for 2.5 seconds when Anko suddenly changed her demeanor. She hoped to make her sister so dependent on her that she couldn't live without her, which was quite frightening. Shikanoko was also curious about what Tarako's goal was. Tarako proudly announced her goal: to make the activity room cuter. Hearing this, everyone was speechless. They even mocked her for thinking they were abnormal. So, by that logic, they argued, our goals are just as reasonable, since at least they all relate to deer. Shikanoko told Tarako that the purpose of the Deer Society was to take care of deer, and if they didn't take good care of her, she would run away from home, which would naturally lead to the disbanding of the society and Tarako being held accountable. Therefore, before discussing the direction of activities, it was even more important to prioritize the care of the deer. Though Tarako was somewhat reluctant, she couldn't deny that Shikanoko had a point, so she grudgingly groomed Shikanoko as requested. However, seeing this scene, the other two became jealous. Mime then joined in as an apprentice deer, and at that moment, Anko claimed she understood Tarako better and was more suited to be the deer of the Deer Society. The next second, Tarako felt Anko's oppressive presence. Meanwhile, as the mere mortals argued, members of other clubs were quietly watching them from the shadows.